Hi, I'm Chef Shawnee Shawn, and I'm here today to teach you guys how to bake my pear almond scones. I'm a private chef on yachts and estates for the last 22 years, and while floating around the world, I discovered that through my clients and my crew that I have a knack for what has been considered a dry vehicle for jam and clotted cream, scones. Mine, however, aren't your typical scone. Today's scone is pear almond. These are the ingredients. We have our almonds and our pears and our sugar and our butter and our sugar for later. And then we have our flour, our milk, our eggs, our lemon for our water for our pears so they don't brown. And then we have our 2 extracts and another key component, baking powder. I like to use salted butter with my scones, as you can see right there. A lot of pastries end up using unsalted butter. And I don't know, maybe that's the difference in my scones that people like them so much, but I'm not changing something if it's not broken. So this is the oven that we'll be baking our scones on today. It unfortunately does not have my favorite baking mode, which is convection bake. It's pretty basic. It has bake, broil, and quick bake. Now, when you have just the regular bake mode in the cookbook, I suggest that we do it higher, like 425. In this case, we like to put it on bake, and then we go higher. Normally I do 410. I go 425 on an unknown oven. This oven actually though, I kind of want to go one more hit and do 430 because I thought it could be hotter when I did my first scones. But that's what you got to do. You have to try things out, and you can see it's better one direction or another. That's how you get to know your oven, is by baking your scones. So we're ready to start doing the dry ingredients. We have 3.5 cups of flour. And then I normally do 3/4 cup of sugar with the pear recipe, but my pears today are a little extra ripe, so I think they're gonna be a little more sugary. So I'm gonna go a little less today with the sugar. This is where you kind of learn how to work your scones based on your ingredients. So we're just gonna do, instead of the full 3/4, we'll just do a little less. And then we have the baking powder. We are doing 2¼ teaspoons of this in here. So these are all our dry ingredients. And it's 2¼ We just mix this up. I usually use a big spoon, but this was handy for the video, so that's what I'm using right now. But you know, what's ever in reach, right? So we're gonna add our butter. We're gonna cut it in with my handy dandy pastry cutter. Never leave home without it. And I personally like to do the push and twist. I call this the push and twist. Probably should come up with a better name for it, but right now, that's what we're gonna call it. So you do this until it is fully blended together. You have to kind of scrape out the butter out of the pastry bit, and you want to get flour hitting every little bit of this flour, and you want to be very quick about it because you got to keep this cold. Now we're ready to add our wet ingredients and get real close to the baking part, which is the best part, of course. So we make a well, just make a little hole in your flour mixture, and then you add your eggs. And we add our extracts, With the almond, we want more of an almond flavor, so I'm adding 2 teaspoons because I love me some almond. And then I still want a little bit of vanilla in there, so we don't want to leave it out. Of course, I need to take the lid off, but here we are. And we'll do 1 tablespoon of that. And you want to start mixing that up. We're going to add a little bit of milk, but we're going to go sparingly with it because with fresh ingredients like the pears and their moisture, they can make it too wet. So I like to first kind of get this in here, get a feel for it, spin that around, and then we'll add our pears. These were kind of small pears. I in hindsight, probably would have wanted to do 3 of them. So 2 good size whole pears, but you mix it all together. And you want to, so now we're gonna do a lightly floured surface and start molding our discs. And let me show what this kind of looks like. You see it's sort of sticking together, but it's still pretty floury, which is what we want right now because with the pears, they'll start adding juice to it while we are molding it. And you'll want the flour handy and the milk handy during this process because you may need to add. But in this case, to me, it feels like it's pretty evenly distributed, and I think we're in good shape. We might need to add a little flour at the end. You want a nice, stiff, dense dough. And you want to do 2 even piles. I kind of flip them. I say knead 3 to 4 times, but it's just to make sure you do it quick and fast and not handle it too much. No, we don't want that in there. But it's a little bit squishy. Notice my squeaky voice. So I'm gonna add a little bit of flour because we want it dense. If it's too wet, you're gonna have little flour scone puddles. I did these the first time in the Bahamas on an Italian boat in the summertime, and the air conditioning was really poor, and I didn't know what I was doing, and they ended up being scone puddles. And my friend Kristen, who was working with me at the time, who loved scones, was very excited, and then was like, oh yeah, that doesn't look the way they're supposed to look. So don't ever stop trying because you'll. So these are the discs. They're about 6 inches, about 1.5 inches, and they're pretty dense. These are a little squishy, but not too bad. I might actually add a little more flour. Now we're ready to cut our scones. We want to do like a pie. You want to be fairly forcible. And I'm cutting them into 6s. You can cut them any size you want. And you use your blade. And now we're doing our egg wash. You just dab it very carefully on top. So now we're going to sprinkle a little bit of sugar over them to add that little crispy sweetness on top. Now it's time to put these babies in the oven. So let's get baking. Okay, our scones have been cooking about 12 minutes. They're on target. I can hear them sizzling. We're in good shape. I'm going to say another 8 minutes for sure. Okay, we are almost there. These are about perfect. There's a little bit of squishiness in there. I would say let's turn on the broiler for just a couple minutes to even it out. So let's cancel this. And we'll do broil, let's say, low. Okay, let's see what precious gifts have been left for us. Let's take a look here. All right, now these are almost perfect. Look at that. I would say just a little more golden, just a hair, but otherwise we are right on track. And here we go. Here are the finished products. The cracks, the little crystallization, light browning. That is some yumminess there. Let's tear open one of these babies. Oh yeah.